I need to get like a big camera.
The best most is if you're getting a mic, so you get really good audio, and then just a camera like in the back.
So I got my mic right here. I just got to work on
Okay.
that. The Tang and the Song, back to them, were accomplished in virtually every area, especially poetry, writing, and landscape painting. The stable dynasties enjoyed the fruits of the civil service exam. They began to use paper money and like a credit card system. But they are also often remembered for really sticking to the policy of foot binding, where young ladies will have their feet taken at a young age and their toes will be curled under and then tied down. So your foot supposedly looks like the petals of a tulip. It was extremely painful and it restricted their mobility, but everyone thought it made their feet look pretty. So that was done to many middle and upper class women in ancient China in the Song dynasty. Kublai Khan comes to power with the Yuan dynasty, established by Kublai Khan and the Mongols. Kublai Khan was bound and determined not to be absorbed into Chinese society. The Mongols were living in yurts out on the Asian steppes. Now they're going to come into China where they've got high rates of technology. And he goes, we're not going to get absorbed by them. But they were anyway. But he forbade marriage between Chinese men and women and Mongols. He also will try 2 times, 1274 and 1281, to conquer Japan. He was the big conqueror. As Elise giggles, he failed not once, but twice. As the emperor went down and he became a waterbender like the Avatar, and the winds began to shake and the waves began to rock, and he swung 2 fleets. But Kublai Khan also welcomed to court among the Silk Road many visitors, like Ibn Battuta, the Muslim nomad, the Islamic version of Marco Polo, and some believe even Marco Polo made it to Kublai Khan's court, bringing ideas of East and West, as the Silk Road by now, even by the Han Dynasty, ran all the way to Rome and down into the Trans-Saharan trade route in North Africa. So the Silk Road is now a worldwide traveling network. Excuse me, brain blocking. After the Yuan dynasty, we get the last of the great dynasties, the great Chinese Ming dynasties. In 1368, the Ming overthrow the Mongols, and they are the last true single Chinese-run dynasty. The Ming dynasty are also highly technologically advanced, and this leads to a major population boom. And they want to show their power, so they will build what we know as the Forbidden City. This will be about the time of the late Renaissance through the absolutism period in Europe. And the Ming will begin to use senshi banks. Banks run on silver distributed in different branches throughout China, encouraging people to trade and to travel all over China. You didn't have to carry a bag of money. You just carried a deposit slip, went into a local bank, withdrew money, went and made your purchase. It was much safer. The emperors once again Emperors once again. Emperors once again. Ooh. All right. Went deep south on us for a minute. When my alternate personalities coming back to life. I'm like Sybil. We got 17 of them. Just kidding. Just 4. What was I saying? Century Banks, Ming Dynasty. Emperor is seen as the all-knowing Father of Heaven, binding the country together. And since he was so awesome, instead of militarily increasing China, he sent out his ambassadors. And he asked you, as a smaller power, to send him tribute. If you sent him a nice enough gift, then you could be part of his trading empire. Remember, this is the rosewood outrigger canoe I told you guys about. If it was good enough, you were welcomed into China, you were protected by China. If you gave him like rotten bananas, then you were like probably killed and taken over. Is that so? He also sent out Zhang Ho with his fleet of 68 ships that could be decorated to look like dragonflies and butterflies and serpents. And that is to once again show the power and the prominence of the Ming Dynasty. We know that they traded with India and went as far away as East Africa. So China is a worldwide empire, not only along the Silk Road, but by the waterways. You may say they are equivalent to prestige worldwide. Wow. It was on TV the other night, and I giggled. My wife's like, that is so dumb. I'm like, but it's so funny. We're watching anyway. All right. Zhang Ho is believed to possibly have made it all the way across to South America, but wound up in Chile and said, you know what? This sucks, we're getting out of here. So they bailed. But the government, the Chinese religion, and the economy are deeply intertwined. Everything ran off the power of the Ming Dynasty emperors. And the Ming Dynasty is known as the Pax Romana of ancient China. They had 6 centuries of unprecedented economic growth. The Ming emperors are some of the best emperors in an entire line in all of China. Roberto, Forrest, you guys hanging in there? It's all right. We're almost there. We're almost home. You had to kowtow when you talked to the emperor. That means you had to bow very low to show your subservience. And the Japanese at this, or Japanese, God bless it, the Chinese want to be isolationist. They want to cut themselves off from the world because they're so rock and cool. Do they really need anybody else? They feel the answer is no. The few foreign ships that come in are quarantined to the Cantonese system, to the port of Canton, where you can offload your cargo. Your sailors can get off the ships onto a little island, but they are not allowed on to mainland China. After the Ming collapses, we get the Qing or the Manchu dynasty. And this will be part of the nationalism, imperialism, industrial revolution stage. And this is where China will find itself increasingly under the pressure of European powers, from England to Japan to Russia and Germany, who begin to carve out spheres of influence in China. This is what we talked about today, where China will be subjected to the opium wars, as the British are trading them opium for tea and silver. And in the 1850s, back when like Bismarck was messing around with with Austria, and we were getting ready to undergo our civil war, there was a large rebellion in the Qing dynasty of Chinese peasants called the Taiping Rebellion. 20 million people were killed in the Taiping. We talk a lot about Hitler, we talk a lot about Stalin, we talk about Pol Pot of Cambodia, but no one ever says Chinese killed 20 million of their own people, for God's sake. That's a lot of people. It didn't help. So eventually, in 1906, to protest, go ahead, Morgan, just tear it, dude. It's been practice. Just go.
I'm just taking it out, sorry.
All right. The Chinese Boxer Rebellion will break out, trying to rebel against the way foreigners are treating China and her people. Yes, sir.
For some reason, I'm thinking there was something going on in 1901 in Asia. Was there a war, or was that?
It was the a little bit later than that, the Japanese-Russo War.
Okay.
Other than that, and it's about the way China is treated, and the people are brutally put down. Foreigners, especially the Japanese and the British, fire into the Chinese population, making everybody really, really angry. And so it is shortly after that that the Emperor Siqi will die, leaving a 2-year-old son on the throne. And in 1911, China will see the end, the last dynasty, the 31st and last dynasty of China collapses, going from 1911 all the way back to the river valleys. China has only known an emperor. This had to be shocking to the people. Well, oh crap, what do we do now? Remember what happened to Athens when Pericles died. And they all knew Pericles, and they had known what was going on. But for the Chinese, 4,000 years of history are now done. What do? So they turn to Sun Yat-sen, who is the father of Chinese nationalism, who decides that China is going to be a modern democratic republic. And he turns to a military leader to try and make things uniform. Military guys like chain of command. General, colonel, major, captain, lieutenant, sergeant. But the guy's a punk. Yuan Shiqi. And so Sun Yat-sen takes back over and he forms the Chinese Nationalist Party, known as the KMT. And he looks for help from the West. Problem is, World War I had just ended. England and France and Germany are trying to recover the 13 million people that were killed and the massive destruction that the infrastructure undertook. Russia, as we're talking about tomorrow, is in the middle of their communist revolution. And President Woodrow Wilson went to Europe, hailed as a hero, and gets laughed out of Europe as a joke. So we in America say, the hell with all of you. If you don't want our help and you're going to make fun of us, you're on your own. We'll be isolationist. And so no one will help Sun Yat-sen. And China is looking for friends. And there's another country looking for friends, going, ooh, 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 we be your friend. We need friend. No one like us. We are known as Malaraj.
Wait, I thought Russia and France had it.
What's that?
I thought Russia and
This
France
is
before.
This is after World War I.
Well, wait, wasn't Russia and France before World War I?
Oh yes.
And then, yeah.
Now we're
and then
after
this is
World
after.
War
Now
I.
we're after,
Yeah, now we're after. And we like friends, especially friend close by. And so, what's that?
Like what year is this about?
This is about 1922. Right? 1921, 1922. The Soviet government says, we'll help you out. And Sun Yat-sen says, great, the one true friend of the Chinese people is the Soviet Union. Of course. And so another political party is formed, the Communist People's Party. Sun Yat-sen will send his lieutenant Chiang Kai-shek to Russia to study, to figure things out. He's supposed to be gone for about 2 years. He returns 4 months later. Sun Yat-sen goes, Chiang, what are you doing? You're supposed to be gone for 2 years. He's like, no, really, it's communism. It's not that hard. I've learned it all in like 4 months. I got it. And Chiang Kai-shek is going to eventually take over and be the president of China when Sun Yat-sen dies. But Chiang Kai-shek hates the Chinese Communist People's Party. And as he's trying to rebuild and modernize China, the stinking Japanese show up and they begin to invade. And as Chiang Kai-shek goes after the Communist Party in his country, his friends are saying, why aren't you fighting the Japanese? And he said, well, we can't really beat them, so we're going to wait them out. And he will hunt and he will chase the communists throughout World War II, hunting their leader, Chairman Mao Zedong. Yes, sir.
Is this Sun Yat-sen doing this?
No, Sun Yat-sen is now dead as Chiang Kai-shek.
Okay.
Chiang Kai-shek and Mao Zedong are going to square off. And Mao Zedong will be forced, along with 90,000 people, to flee into the interior of China. It's called the Long March, about 6,000 miles. Only about 20,000 of the 90,000 people will survive the Long March. Chiang Kai-shek will be kind of not abuse the Chinese people, but not be super friendly to them, where Chairman Mao says, do not steal anything from the Chinese people. Do not treat them roughly. You ask for food. Pay for it if you can. If you don't have money, offer to work or to teach them. And Mao Zedong goes out amongst the people, teaching them, saying, you should be responsible for yourself. You should govern your village.
Is he Japanese?
He is Chinese.
Chinese, so
The Japanese invade, and the Chinese basically forget about them to fight each other.
okay, so there are two different Chinese groups.
Yes, the Chinese nationalists and Chiang Kai-shek hunting the Chinese communists and Mao Zedong. Yes, sir.
What stopped Japan from moving further into China and then south?
The attack on the United States and the Battle of Midway. Yeah. Okay. Beat them. So, and they think they got a stranglehold on it. So, long story short, Chairman Mao wins popularity amongst the people. When World War II ends, Chiang Kai-shek had been given a lot of weapons to fight the Japanese. So we forced the Japanese to surrender to Chiang Kai-shek. As soon as we leave China, a Chinese civil war flares up. And even though Chiang Kai-shek had Western military weapons, millions of people had flocked to Chairman Mao Zedong. And in 1949, he emerges victorious. And he will become the first president of the People's Republic of China. Problem is, when everybody went to vote, how many names were on the ballot? 1. Mao Zedong will be a communist dictator, and he will initiate what is known as the Great Leap Forward, where China was going to industrialize faster than Japan. He wants to move people from the farms into industry, subsidized, paid for, and created by the Soviet Union. The only problem is people focus so much on industry and technology that nobody grew any food. in between 15 and 20 million people will starve to death as a result. There is, Chairman Mao will also restrict learning. He will restrict books and Western influence, similar going all the way back to, if you want to compare him, to Shi Huangdi and the Qin dynasty. People of China will suffer through this until the collapse of the Soviet Union, when there is a massive protest of Chinese students in Tiananmen Square in Beijing. This is the famous photo of the young man standing in front of the tank, daring them to run him over. And that showed the breaking down of communist China, which still is communist, but the Beijing Olympics in 2008 show the transitioning of China. They are now more capitalist than they are communist. It's only a matter of time. They are a major player in world trade enterprises right now. So, that's it. Any questions? Elise?
Okay, so the Boxer Revolution was the foreigners going against
Students protesting foreign treatment.
and then what happened in the Taiping Revolution?
Taiping Revolution, the people, sort of the same thing. They rebelled against their government.
And then they go.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
This is more of a modern question about China. With if their economy had collapsed because of their real estate bubble, how would that be worse than like the United States economy collapsing, affecting the rest of the world?
Probably.
Okay.
Commonalities. Number one, Confucianism and Confucian schools. The dynastic cycle. And the number one thing to remember throughout China is trading along the Silk Road and massive periods of technological innovation. Many of the Chinese people don't leave, but everyone comes to China or learns about China. Korea borrowed from China. The Japanese borrowed from China. They've been a major trading network for thousands and thousands of years. Any more questions? Anybody need anything repeated? Not, I'm hitting stop. Patrick.
All right, so the yuan was established by the Mongols, and they tried to invade Japan, and it didn't work.
Correct.
And then eventually they were absorbed in China. There were so many Chinese.
And China was technologically advanced. Anything else?
What was the kowtow?
Kowtow was when you meet any member of the royal family, you had to bow and show your subservience to them. Ms. Cho.
What was the Long March in the...
Long March is when Chiang Kai-shek is chasing Mao Zedong and the Communist People's Party